As you can see, the Johnson Victrola Corporation is responsible for many of the turntable or phonograph innovations of the early 20th century. They're also responsible for some of the recording industry terms you may be familiar with.
You have a place for storage for your records. Now back then you would buy records individually. So you'd buy them and you would put them into an album, that's where the word album came from, to store your records. Okay. So these, they used to probably have, they would, file them alphabetically, but they were all sold individually. There's no compact packages of them.
Here's some other terminology you may be familiar with.
Very large sound.
Yeah.
So the only way you can control it is get a pair of socks. You put a sock in it. I've never heard that terminology when you were a kid.
Wow, that's where that's from.
That's where this came from. So I put a sock in it, you muffle the sound to the point where it's more tolerable to listen to.
You might still be asking, what does the innovation of the turntable and the record have to do with DJing? Well, basically, because companies like the Victrola Corporation were producing records and also recording new artists, they had exclusive rights to the music that they were recording. So radio stations and DJs had to go to them to get all of their new music, which was many, many artists.
John McCormick was an opera singer and also a famous Irish tenor. You have people like John Sousa. He had early jazz, early spiritual, African-American music. He had a whole gamut. So he was the largest producer of records at that time. These again, there's some photographs of other artists that did do it, from Caruso, McCormick to John Sousa to more modern times like Duke Ellington and Marian Anderson. They all basically were part of his recording artists.
The RCA Victor Corporation continued to grow and flourish throughout the early 20th century and record many more famous artists. The dog you see here is the mascot, Nipper. This mascot was used to represent the Victor Corporation and then the RCA Victrola Corporation after the merger with Radio Corporation of America. Now let's talk a little bit about sound. Legendary jazz trumpeter Hugh Masekela said in a recent interview he wondered when he was growing up how they got the little tiny band to play inside of a phonograph horn to produce so much sound. Let's talk about how sound is created using the phonograph.
But Edison, a very fascinating, and is obviously a genius. I don't think his mind ever stopped working. But as a youngster, he realized, that sound travels in vibrations. And he could, he used his fingers and just moving his lips or blowing or talking to feel the sound waves. So he used that horn there with a tinfoil over the cylinder, and the vibrations will cause the needle, and a horn's needle's there, but the horn, the waves, the sound waves cause the needle to turn, go over the cylinder, and it makes perforations in the tinfoil. Play it back, and he's got the recording. And again, his vision was just for business, for dictation, not for music.
Now that we've discussed sound a little bit, what are some of the early DJ devices? Here we see what is known as an auxetophone. The auxetophone could be considered the first DJ device. That's mainly because it was designed to play for large groups or crowds. So now, for the first time in history, you had a turntable that could replace a live band or performance.
Produced by the Gramophone Company of Great Britain. The auxetophone used compressed air to modulate a valve in its unique sound box. So due to its high cost, the auxetophone was generally purchased by hotels and restaurants.
In the modern era, some DJs still use a two turntable and record setup. Others use a digital format to DJ. Both of these forms of technology, of course, have their roots in the old phonograph days. The difference now, though, is DJs are able to use phonograph or records to create music as well as record it.
So, I tend to use records more as instruments than anything else. Some folks just use records just for that. Right now, I like to grab individual sounds out of the records and mix them with other different things to come up with a sound. So that's primarily my usage for records.
device shown here is an MPC drum machine, and this is a popular device used for sampling. And I'll just show you a quick demonstration of how this works from sampling from a vinyl record to a drum machine. The MPC became extremely popular in hip-hop music because of the way hip-hop music was created originally. Originally, hip-hop was created using turntables and records. A DJ would play a portion of a song and then repeat that same portion of the song playing the same exact record, creating what was called a loop. In the late 70s, rappers or MCs would say rhymes over these loops, and that was the birth of hip-hop music. Devices like the MPC became popular because people could loop without having to use the vinyl records, but it was the same concept. Hip-hop music caused a huge boom in the sale of vinyl records. Devices like the MPC, turntables, and of course records were extremely popular to the hip-hop culture and very important in hip-hop production. Record digging is still very popular for music producers and people who just like listening to music on vinyl records. Here's an example of one of the popular locations for digging for vinyl records.
The 50 years of the USSR address, very patriotic. I'm gonna go jump upstairs. Is that the Columbia one?
It's a Zenith.
Oh, Zenith, I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it works pretty well. I'll break it out in a minute. It's like,
Yeah, I've never seen a Zenith one.
cool.
Record shops like these are extremely popular among people who like listening to music on vinyl records, and they're also popular for people who look to sample off of records. There's a lot of music from all different genres that people who produce music that rely on samples tend to look for.
And I pull out the sample that they use and I play it. Oh! They sampled that? Oh man, I thought the beat was original. It is original. It's just that they took that piece and then they put other stuff in with it. So it is original. And they also got clearance to use that. So they just embodied it into their material.
So as you can see, later in the 20th century, the vinyl record was used to create music as well as obviously listen to music on. That's how DJ technology developed from the late 19th century with the invention of the phonograph of Thomas Edison all the way up to modern times where we see turntables, continuous playing, the ones invented by E.R. Johnson, and you see DJs DJing with digital devices nowadays. We'll see even more innovation in the future.